The hotly anticipated indie game Cult of the Lamb just dropped today. It's made on Unity and it's compatible with the Steam Deck. It's ranked as playable, and here on screen I have why it's ranked as playable, but overall it has pretty good performance here on the Steam Deck, able to hit 60 FPS most of the time, but there are some stuttering problems, and I did have to switch over to Proton GE. So I'll go ahead and jump into the performance now and the little bit of setup I had to do for using Proton GE. So upon launching the game, you'll get some intros for the companies that helped make this game possible, and one of them is Devolver Digital, which is the publisher for this game. But if you don't have Proton GE being used for the compatibility layer here, I had the notorious Proton glitch screen where it doesn't have the video codec to actually display the video that's there, so it'll just glitch out. Now that's not too bad, but there are actually some pre-recorded videos for the game when you hit certain cutscenes that'll play out, and these are also glitched out unless you use Proton GE. I don't have the footage here for the actual cutscene that's glitched out, but I put it handheld using the Proton GE version, and it worked totally fine there. If you're not familiar with Proton GE, you can go to the Discovery Store and just download Proton QT, and from there you can install Proton GE. This is essentially a different version of Proton that has some fixes and upgrades, so it might help you run games like this that have problems otherwise. Once you have that set, just go to your compatibility here on the Steam Deck for the game, force it to use a specific version, and set it to Proton GE. Now on to performance. Settings-wise, I just use the Ultra preset, and the game does have 800p as an option, so it will fill your Steam Deck screen. Here though, I'm playing at 720p to fill my external monitor. As you can see here, we're able to achieve 60 FPS at Ultra settings and native resolution with no problems. Our GPU and our CPU cores aren't being used that hard, so we're not really having a problem on that front. However, this game does have a few stutters that come up here and there. I mostly noticed them when I was loading into new areas, but sometimes they pop up just randomly, and honestly, I've had this problem with some other Unity games where they just have these random stutters. One game was like The Artful Escape that I was playing, and that game just has a ton of stutters, so hopefully this can get cleaned up a bit. When I played the demo of this game on my PC initially, I didn't really encounter these stutters as much, I think, so maybe it's just a problem with the Steam Deck version. I'm not 100% sure here. It might be an engine problem that hopefully they can clean up down the line. Now, one weird behavior that I did encounter was while I was playing handheld, at one point the game started stuttering a lot, and I checked the CPU cores, and one of them was just being nailed at 100% the whole time, and that makes sense why that would cause a lot of stuttering for the game. I wasn't able to reproduce this on the external capture here, so hopefully that was just an outlier and not something that would happen for players playing this game. There are two primary kinds of gameplay you'll encounter here, one where you're managing your cult, and the other where you're venturing through forests and such, fighting enemies to take down bosses. The performance for both parts of these gameplay is similar overall, so you shouldn't expect any differences battery life-wise or performance-wise in them. Another thing I wanted to mention about performance is that when you enter a new area for the first time, it's going to generate all the maps that you go to throughout it. It is definitely slower than my PC, but my PC has a 5900X and a PCIe 4.0 SSD, so that could be the problem here. It's not that big of an issue, honestly, but it will slow down the gameplay a little bit. When I did encounter that CPU problem earlier, it was during the management part, so maybe if that pops up for you, it'll be there as well. Battery life-wise, on a full charge, I was able to get around 3.5 hours of battery life playing at 60 FPS, which is pretty solid for a game running at 60 FPS on the Steam Deck. Keep in mind this battery measurement is with the screen off on the Steam Deck as it's going to an external display, so if your screen's on, your screen brightness will affect your battery life here. I also locked the frame rate to 30 FPS to see what kind of battery life gains we could get, and during that time I had around 70% battery life, so the battery wasn't directly comparable to how it was earlier, but definitely a little bit of battery life improvement, not as ton, and honestly for this game, the action roguelite parts are pretty fast, and you want to be as responsive as possible, so I'd really recommend targeting that highest frame rate possible. You can go down to 40 FPS, but really for the action parts, I would try to stick to 60 FPS if you can on the Steam Deck. That about covers it for this one. The graphics don't seem very demanding here. There is some post-processing going on, and I think the art style here is absolutely wonderful. I really like how the game looks. I don't think anybody was really anticipating this game to have major performance problems on the Steam Deck, and it runs pretty well for the most part. I just really hope those stutters get cleaned up. Now I'll just let some footage play out so you guys can check the gameplay out and see what the performance is like. I'll probably do an impressions video for this game because I really was looking forward to it from the demo, and I'm really liking it so far. If you want more Steam Deck content, check out my channel. I just did a video on the Devolver Chronicle running on the Steam Deck. That game is really cool also and runs pretty well on the Steam Deck. I also did an impressions video covering that game to give you an overview of what it is exactly. Other than that, have a good one guys, and thanks for watching the video.
Makapa, Asapala, Adapala. Northwest Polo.